Hello and welcome to a CBK gaming review video. Today we are reviewing Machi Koro alongside the Harbour expansion and Millionaire's Row expansion. We're also looking at Machi Koro Legacy. We will be giving them two separate scores, but we're rolling it up into the same video. So what is Machi Koro? Machi Koro is a competitive game for between 1 and 4 players, although the Harbour expansion does add another player, so you can have up to 5 players. It takes approximately 30 to 45 minutes, and it's a dice rolling game, and you use the scores to build up your town, your city. Yeah. And you can purchase cards. Each card has a different colour. The colour codings indicate what happens. So blue cards are acted upon anybody's turn, green cards only on your turn, purple cards are on your turn but tend to be damaging to other players, and red cards are on anybody else's turn. So if you, for example, roll a 3 on the dice and there's a red card in play, it will state take X amount of money from the player, from the active player. So there are more combative style of gameplay with the red cards. They are numbered between 1 and 12, so hence the 2 dice. You start playing with 1 dice, and then depending on the buildings that you make, you can actually progress to rolling 2 die. Taking a look first of all at the content of the game, in particular Machi Koro and the expansions, you get enough cards to make the game. It's not an expensive game. It's you get the 2 dice, you get the cardboard counters for your coins. The print's good, the art style's good. It's sort of got that odd cartoonesque vibe.
You get what you need for the game.
It's a
and
solid...
enough variance within it. It's not that there's one card that only activates when you roll this particular number. There are variants, so some of them you can roll a 1 and only have 1 card activate. Some you can roll a 4 and have 2 cards activate together. Mm-hmm. There's enough variant within the base game to have a really fun game, and then the expansions just build up on that.
So the expansions add new buildings that you need to complete, and they also add some new cards. There's a new mechanic added as well, which is this construction renovation idea. So the first time the card is used, it gets marked as under renovation, and you need to roll the dice number on that card to remove the renovation marker. On the whole, it's fine. I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Yep, I was going to go with an 8 as well.
Machi Koro Legacy. So this is a bit of a different game. It's the legacy variant of Machi Koro. Again, it's only between 2 and 4 players. There isn't a 5th player addition. Again, takes between 30 minutes and 45 minutes, depending. But again, what we've played this 6 or 7 times. We've progressed through the game, the legacy element, and we don't want to give too much away, which is why we've pulled it into this the overall review. But content wise, I'm actually going to give this a 7, because there are some aspects of this, the legacy components, that are not, I don't think they're very good quality. They're cheap plastic. Mm-hmm. And they are plastic, which I'm beginning to move a lot more towards liking wood or metal as an alternative. Okay, so let's look at quality.
Okay. Well, we've played this game so many times. It's a really nice, easy one that if we get a lunch break, this is the one that you can quickly set up. You can quickly play it while you're having a sandwich or whatever, and get back to work again after the lunch break. It's a nice game. So we've played it a lot of times, and the cards are standing up to the use. They're not becoming dog-eared. It's really good quality.
It is. There's a really good quality. As we said about the artwork, you'll see on the screen now, there's an example of some of the cards, and they are a very unique art style. And I think it's for those of us in the UK, it's a Mummite style card. Yeah. You love it or you hate it. And for anybody outside of the United Kingdom, look up Mummite and you'll understand it's a spread we put on our toast, which people either love or they hate.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go for a 9 with quality, because we've played this so many times and we've never had any problems with the cards or the dice or the tokens.
So looking at Legacy,
it drops for me.
It does to a 7. So I would agree on a 9 for Machi Koro, because actually with the expansions as well, the colours are exactly the same. We've had a number of expansions for other games where the colour's been slightly out of alignment, and you can tell which cards belong in the expansion from that. And they're not. They're absolutely colour perfect.
Yeah.
Machi Koro Legacy. It feels rushed.
Yeah.
It feels like they've tried to shoehorn, legacy games are popular, we'll make a legacy game.
The rule book hasn't, some of the wording isn't quite right. I mean, we've ended up looking up on forums to check on bits and pieces.
Yes, and I think other people have made the same comment.
There were some cards that just weren't clear on. There's one mechanic that's brought in early on, and it wasn't made clear how to bring it into the game. You were told what to do during your turn with it, but how it comes into your turn, and that's where we were having to stop the game, look on the internet, see what other people had said about it.
What's your score?
Quality on that, as you said, it does feel rushed, and I'm going to go with a 6.
Okay.
Having seen the elements that are in there that we found without giving anything away. Yeah.
Yes. It's quite difficult to review the legacy element of Machi Koro, because we don't want to ruin it for anybody or make any spoilers. So let's look at complexity. So Machi Koro as a standalone is a very easy game. Yeah. With the expansions, they've added some elements which I find it hard to say that I think they belong. I don't think. I understand you need to start bring out some differences. Expansions offer the opportunity to try different mechanics, add different mechanics. Yeah. Were they needed? I don't think so. I think the Harbour and Machi Koro, the Machi Koro core set, are really good games to have. If you want to add something, then yes. Millionaire's Row if you want more cards, but for the 5th player, I certainly think obviously the Harbour you do need. Rules 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
it's not that difficult. It's very easy to pick up.
You can pick it up in 10 minutes and go, and you can make it as complicated as you want, because there are some cards that work together. So if you build those two and have them in your collection, the different synergies can work. But you don't have to go into all of those if you don't want to. You can stay with just picking the cards.
I will say that there are different ways of playing the game, and you can have all the cards out and have to just cycle through what you want, purchase what you want. The other way to play it is to shuffle them all up and only have 12 on the table at any one time that you can buy. We prefer the latter way of doing it, because some people, I know I don't like using the red cards, for example. It's just something I don't use those in my gameplay. I don't use the purple cards very often. I don't find that limiting. It's just how I choose to play the game. When you've only got 12 cards and you're cycling through those red and purple cards, you have to get some of those cards. So it makes the game a little bit more interesting for me.
Yeah.
And throws. I have to change my play style depending on the cards that are available, rather than everything's available at once. So 9 out of 10 complexity.
Yeah, definitely.
Machi Koro Legacy, that's much of a different game. The rules are not very well written. I don't find that they are explained very well. We've had to go online to actually have a look and confirm how some things are run. There are some new elements being added which make no sense to me. I don't like them. I think it's fair to say complexity for me, it's still not a difficult game. There's some unforgivable errors in the explanation of which is why I say it feels rushed, which is very unusual for a Pandasaurus game. I think they're a fantastic company. I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10 for complexity, just because of some of the missed information within the rulebook.
Yeah, I was going to go for a 7 because you can still pick it up, you can still play. When you come to those moments where you're not sure, you can either make a decision yourself or you can look it up. And there are plenty of forums and chats that we've joined and listened to find the information.
That's fair.
And it didn't take us hours to work it out. It was just stop for 10 minutes or so, check the rules on with other people and come back to it.
So fun factor. Machi Koro core set itself and the expansions, as Karen has said, great game to sit down and play in an afternoon. If you've just got half an hour, 45 minutes, they certainly fill a spot for those quick-paced, fun. Doesn't take itself too seriously. Very colourful. Looks good on the table. So, yeah, fun factor for me. Again, it's going to be an 8. 8 out of 10.
Okay, for me, this is actually a 10.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. You really like this.
From day one when I first played this, we played one game and it was again. I would happily play this every single day. I love it. And the way that my style of competitive games, I prefer doing the best that I can with my gameplay to win the game, rather than being aggressive to my competitor. The red and the purple cards do change that a bit, but it still keeps a fun, light element even when you're using those. So when we play in the one that forces you to bring a couple of those cards into your hand, I don't mind. It's still an enjoyable game. And because you've got those variants of how you set the game up, you can play it either completely non sort of competitiveness until whoever gets their town built, or you can bring those elements in. So for transparency, I do, if I'm playing a competitive game, I would opt towards war games, or something like Blood Rage. I really enjoy Blood Rage. There are some other competitive games, Edge of Darkness, which we reviewed recently. Again, a good competitive game. This is just very light-hearted for me, but is good fun. First of all, I do apologise if you can hear screaming kids in the background. Our neighbours' children are taking the opportunity to have fun whilst it's not raining, because it's been raining for the last sort of week. So I do apologise. So we forgot to look at the fun factor of Machi Koro Legacy. We did.
This is where, for me, I'm not enjoying it. And Machi Koro core game, I enjoy a lot. Machi Koro Legacy, it's a 5 out of 10 for me. It just doesn't have the same fun feel. The legacy, something's been lost in the adding the legacy element and the mechanics which I find have sort of shoehorned in. So yeah, no, not enjoying it.
I'm going to go for a 6 because I like each part of it. The next section explains a bit more of a story, so they're telling more of a story with this one as you progress through the timeline. So I am actually enjoying finding the story, but yes, some of the mechanics they've brought in.
It's not just that. You're right that there is a story element to it, but it doesn't need it. It's not a story game.
It's not. It's not. I can see that to make it into a legacy one, they've had to put the story there to keep you knowing why you're going from one to the next and continuing on. Yeah, I'm going to go with a 6.
Okay.
It is still fun, but it's just it's lacking something.
So replayability.
We've played it so many times and I'm not bored of it at all. I mean, we've always said competitive games are more replayable
absolutely
anyway than cooperative games. But yeah, I have to give this a 10. I don't think I'm ever going to get bored of it. Because you can go back to just the core game if you want, or you can throw the other cards in. There's so many different variants.
I think the fact that it is a fast game, if this was any longer than 30 minutes, 45 minutes, I would grow bored of it. It's not. It's a fast-paced game. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I have a much stronger preference for... I'd rather sit down and play that war game, Victory in the Pacific, or a Choir, for example, than I would sit down with this.
Yeah. See, for me, it's because of the synergies that are in there. If you collect the right cards, you're just waiting for that dice roll so that everything falls into place. You go that one, which means that one's that. And for me, it's waiting for that to come up. And if it doesn't come up in one game, well, I'll try it again next game. So
yeah. No, I can get that.
Yeah.
Replayability of Machi Koro Legacy. Well, the legacy element automatically reduces the score because legacy implies that it's a...
Yeah, it's not designed to be.
Yeah. Although they have put something in there that says once you've gone through the legacy campaign, it opens a game up to be replayed from that state. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how that goes, because I think I'm going to enjoy that more than having the legacy element. It just depends whether we get rid of some of those mechanics that I really don't like.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm hoping that's the case. There's a lot of very interesting cards. There's a lot of subtle changes. Replayability, 6 out of 10 for me. It's and that's because they've put the rules in that allow you to replay it after the legacy element. Otherwise I would be scoring it quite a bit lower than that. So an overall score,
I have to go with a 9 for me, because this is one of my top 5 favourite games, and it's been there since the first day I played it. It's just something that sits really comfortably with my game style, my gameplay. And the fact that it's so quick is, I mean, I've made us play it over breakfast before because it is just I fancy a game. We've only got a quick bit of time.
So there's some points which detract for me. It's a card game. I'm not a massive fan of card games. The competitive nature of it, I don't mind competitive games, but as I've said, I'd go elsewhere for that style of game. But it is good fun. I do enjoy it when I play it. It's not the game I automatically am drawn to play. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's still a good game, and it's still something which I'd take on holiday. It's a sort of game you'd play with some friends. It's a couple of beers, some music, food. Play this sort of game, and perhaps secrets and those sort of games. It's a larger party game for me. Although it's not a massive, it's only up to 5 players. It's not a massive player base. It's still sort of that party vibe of game to me.
Also, I do just want to point out, Pandasaurus Games have actually made the base box big enough to include the expansions in them.
Yeah, and that's really good.
And it's really nice to see that you're not buying an expansion that if you do want to take it on holiday, you put in another box and another box to take the expansions. It's all just in there.
It does bring one thing to mind. They could have made the boxes for the expansions much smaller, and used less card, less plastic. Looking from the greener perspective, come on, let's start to think more about the environment, and do we need to use all of this product to produce a game? Yes, okay, it looks and stands out more on a shelf, looks better on the shelf, but actually the main game can hold it. So why are we doing that? And unfortunately, I think that's something which is across all board game companies. There's not many that I think they could do better on the greener aspects of production. Machi Koro Legacy. Sorry, it's a disappointment to me, and it's got to be a 5 out of 10, if not a 4. It's falling that far down. It's really missed the mark. Yes, looking at the quality and the some of the enjoyment that we've got from it, it doesn't feel needed. I've got Machi Koro.
Yeah.
Should you go out and buy it? If you haven't got Machi Koro and you like legacy games, try it. But otherwise, I'd always tell you to get Machi Koro and the expansions. Yeah. I don't see the point of the legacy game. I'm really sorry, Pandasaurus, but I think you've missed the mark massively on this.
Yeah. I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go with a 5 on the legacy as well. I want to say a 6 because I love the core game, but the legacy just doesn't stand up to it. It's when you're playing it, you feel that you're playing the core game with an extra mechanic thrown on top for that round.
Yeah. It does, as I said, it feels shoehorned in, and it doesn't make sense. I'm sure there are people out there that will enjoy it because, let's face it, everybody's tastes are different, and I really hope that they do. I want Pandasaurus. I want any game producer to succeed. Just because we're reviewing it and we say we don't like it, doesn't mean there aren't people out there who do. Our style of game and we're always very open and honest about what we enjoy and what we think makes a good game. So for us, it doesn't fit in our collection. And if you're like us, if you enjoy cooperative games, storytelling games, if you want a quick game, Machi Koro, certainly take a look at that. If you haven't got Machi Koro, you like the idea of it and you enjoy legacy games, then I think you'd probably enjoy the legacy element of it. I'm on the fence about legacy games. I don't think there are many out there that I enjoy. There is one on Kickstarter that I know I will absolutely adore, and that's Oathsworn. Having played it and spent time talking to the team, that sort of legacy game really appeals. That's a story-driven game, and that's but okay. Well, thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed our review and you've enjoyed our opinion of these two very different but the same games. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing. It means a lot to us. We will be bringing another review to the channel next Monday. We want to start having a look at Wingspan, though we think we still need to play that a little bit more. We're trying to get Chris and the LARP coach Guy available to do the Gloomhaven review. We've played that a lot and we want to review it now. So we're not sure what we're going to bring on next week. We'll have to sit down and think about that. I will be reviewing Night Fighter Ace for our Wargaming Wednesday, which we'll bring once a month, and we'll also be looking at Acquire for our Throwback Thursday, which is where we're going to start looking at games that we played in either our childhood or with our families many, many years ago.
Not that long ago.
So, thank you very much, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.